Hello, Blankers. It's Jim from the podcast. Just introducing you to the second half of the 1980 episode because we overran. We talked too much in the first half. Enjoy yourselves. Ah, yes, yes. Hey, Space Cadets and Airheads. Welcome to Season 3 of Not 40, Just Blank. It's a radical and righteous podcast in which each episode we take you back to the bodacious 1980s, looking back at news, TV, sports, film and music of a single year of that bitchin' decade. It sounds mega. So come and join us on our latest gnarly journey, dudes, as we head back to the 80s, the decade that fashion forgot, right here on Not 40, Just Blank. Okay, Blankers, we are rumbling on with this 1980s episode. And if you remember, in the special that wrapped up the noughties decade, we introduced Uncle Forty's Naughty Box, where my illustrious compadres, Mr. Richard Dello and Mr. Philip Reynolds, will argue passionately for a certain subject for 30 seconds, and then their opponent has a rebuttal, and then I will adjudicate and choose whether the object has been successfully awarded a place in Uncle Forty's Naughty Box. Everyone clear with the rules? I don't think so. But anyway, we'll try this out. So what we're going to do, we've got 3 categories. There is a legend of 1980 that you guys have chosen for yourself to argue that you think is the greatest. Then we'll do an album that has been chosen by your opponent for you. And then we'll finish off with a film that has also been chosen by your opponent. So you're arguing passionately for all 3. It's just that only one of them is your choice.
Yep.
Sound clear?
Yep.
Sounds lovely. Right, great. Let's have a bash. You can have 30 seconds for each of your arguments. And then when your time is up, you'll hear Jimmy's bell end.
Tickets, please.
Yes, please.
Sound effects are...
We have spent...
The budget has gone...
We've spent almost zero amounts on the budget this year, and it's quite apparent. Right, let's start with Legend of 1980. Mr. Reynolds, who is your legend?
First. Okay.
I'm going to come to you first. Who is your legend that you are arguing passionately is the greatest legend of 1980?
Okay, so this is a bit of a difficult one.
Okay.
So I thought I'm going to go for someone who we're going to struggle. I think Dell's going to struggle to argue against.
Oh, you went tactical?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But it might backfire because you being the adjudicator, it might not work.
Well.
And it'll all make sense in a minute because we mentioned it earlier and it is Trevor Brooking.
Interesting. Interesting.
So we starting the clock?
Okay, so I will ding you in. You've got 30 seconds to argue that Trevor Brooking is the greatest legend of 1980. Beginning now.
Okay, so we're both West Ham fans, and that was the last trophy we won 43 years ago. The last team to win outside of the top division, the FA Cup. We beat Arsenal. Trevor Brooking scored the winning goal. He's a legend amongst West Ham fans. They've got a stand after him. He done a great job managing us. He's even a decent bloke. You can't say a bad thing about Trevor Brooking. You're a West Ham fan, and you cannot argue against Trevor Brooking being the legend of 1980.
Interesting. It's a solid start. Mr. Dello, now you now have 30 seconds to argue somehow against what you know in your heart of hearts is true. Very best of luck.
You're right, Phil. I cannot disagree with anything that you just said. However, I can disagree with what Trevor Brooking has done with animal cruelty. He's a massive clubber of seals. Like he jets out to Canada regularly. He kills seals for fun. It's not just seals. He'll go over big game shooting in Africa. He's like the dentist with the lion and the elephants. He does it for fun. Then he comes back and then he portrays himself as this legend that he is, like I say, but he kills people Sorry, he kills people as well.
He kills people is the final word from Mr. Dello.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
final
just
right reply?
Yeah, I'm just going to attach myself from any of that bullshit because when the lawyers come calling, I will let you explain the slander you've just put towards Trevor Brooking.
He started off clubbing seals. He ended with killing people.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got something that you might dislike about Trevor Brooking.
What's that?
Do you remember the game we played for South Benfleet?
Oh, and his son was playing against his son. Yeah,
and he come over and he walked on the sideline.
yeah,
He blanked you, Phil.
yeah,
He didn't blank me.
yeah.
Final twist of the knife from Richie D. Wow. I mean, again, passionate. It must have hurt Del to come up with that. What we can only describe as lies to try and win a point. The only problem I've got with Trevor Brooking is that he looks way too much like Jeff Banks from the Close Show, and so for that reason, I'm siding with Mr. Dello. I believe
He hasn't picked his legend, has he?
I'm going to say that. You're not getting in regardless.
Okay.
All right.
Well, this will be easy.
This will be easy because I'm already siding with Dello. But let's hear who you're proposing, Richie D, for your legend.
My legend of 1980 is, we've talked about him already, is John Lennon.
Oh,
So
Trevor Brooking versus John Lennon. Okay, you've got 30 seconds to defend and big up Johnny Lennon.
Obviously, is part responsible for giving the world the Beatles and some of the greatest music ever written. It might be debatable, it might be how you feel, but I kind of think the world might agree. Had a fantastic solo career, stood up for the people, led anti-war movements, forged political links between his music and politics, and was revered the world over. He is an absolute legend, and, well, that's it.
Solid. Solid. Argue against that for 30 seconds. Philip Reynolds, off you go.
He is a legend. The Beatles, a bit overrated as far as I'm concerned. Personally, I don't think that. I thought this was specifically for the 1980s. So have you got stuff that actually John Lennon should be a legend for in 1980?
We got shot.
Getting assassinated.
He did Imagine.
Yeah, well, that got released after, I believe. I think it was 81 because of... after that got released after his death, I think, because of that. But
yeah, it did slow him down.
If it's specifically to the year, you said a lot of great stuff that he's done. I can't argue with that, but specifically to the year,
he did a newspaper article.
I tell you what, he wasn't doing. He wasn't clubbing seals.
He wasn't clubbing seals. Yeah. He was, he's just an all-around nice guy. Used to help old ladies, sort of used to put sort of, I don't know, sort of cans of baked beans off the shelf for old ladies.
He was always good at that, wasn't he?
He's always good at that. Yeah, he used to do card tricks for old people. Sometimes he'd take the money, but
Wow. Solid start again. I mean, it almost writes itself that Lennon sounds like legend. So, I mean, he's halfway there to winning it. He didn't score the winner against Arsenal in the 1980
Yeah,
Cup
well, that was
final.
always my debate.
I'm
winning in one way. Dell's going to struggle against it, but then the judge is an Arsenal
set yourself
fan.
up. So, yeah, essentially, because John Lennon didn't score the winner against
prevent
Arsenal
from winning the FA Cup.
I'm going to side with John Lennon as the legend of 1980. Dell takes the first round. So we move from the legends of 1980.
I'd just like to apologise to all the Brooking family.
When you get lynched at the next West Ham game you go to.
Yeah, very much so. So let's move from that to, what should we do? Let's do albums of 1980. So you've chosen for your opponents.
Yeah, this is going to be tough, this one.
Phil, what have you chosen for Richard Dello to argue passionately is the greatest album of 1980?
Let me double check, 'cause I forgot what I did. I think I remember. I want to double check before.
I mean, it must be an absolute beauty.
It's a great album.
That's the assumption. So knowing that he's already sort of voted tactically in the first round.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I've kind of gone tactically again.
It's going to be a stinker.
Yeah, it's pretty, I like the way Phil thinks on this.
Yeah, Keeping the Summer Alive by the Beach Boys.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was your one for me, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got
going first.
You're going to go first this time round, Richard D.
Okay,
so you're
sure.
arguing that Keeping the Sounds Alive,
The Summer Alive,
excuse me, by the Beach Boys,
Yep.
is the greatest album. So Dale, you've got 30 seconds to defend this.
Right, well, some say that Pet Sounds was the best album the Beach Boys ever produced, but I have to disagree. It's actually Keeping the Summer Alive. I mean, do you want guys in their 20s singing about the summer of love? or do you want a load of middle-aged men singing about songs called Old Darling, In No Way Wants to Make You Take Your Own? Well, it's a struggle, this one. But songs like "Oh Darling" in no way would make you want to take your own life. There's something about men in their 40s where they're wearing like Bermuda shirts and linen that just makes you just like smile, and you want to hear songs like "School Days," "Going on Girls," and when girls get together. It's just like perfect.
It's an interesting start. Now, do you have to reply? Do you have to rebuttal against these, Phil? Are you going to push back?
Yeah, no, I'll have a little go.
Feel free. Your time starts.
I don't think there's much of a fight in this one.
Okay, so yeah, the reason I picked this is because I, for one, love the Beach Boys. As we mentioned the Beatles earlier, I prefer the Beach Boys. But when looking into the worst albums of 1980, this was top of all the lists, which made me think, Christ, how could a band so good have produced such a bad album?
Yeah.
So I listened to it, and I didn't have much time to listen to it, but it is pretty awful.
So how much time did you get to listen to it for?
I listened to it for a good 20 minutes or so.
20 minutes?
A few tracks.
Yeah, it's a good 50-minute album.
It was pretty awful. And you look at all the reviews, it must have been bad, because literally I think 2 stars out of 10 was the highest it got off a lot of people. So, and this is a genuine band as the Beach Boys. So,
okay,
interesting.
Okay, I think I can reply to this.
Feel free. I'll give you one last opportunity. There.
Well, as you'll realise, they said it is probably the worst Beach Boys album ever written in the first 20 minutes, but afterwards
20 minutes 21
yeah, 21 it's an absolute banger. It's up with Pet Sounds. It's absolutely brilliant. They're on point. They're back to their best. I mean, they're back in London, they're back in Bermuda. They kicked ass. The fact of it got 2 stars was for the original 20 minutes, but the rest of the 3 stars are catching up. They're being sent in the post.
Interesting. Well, what have you, Mr. Dello, chosen for your opponent to suffer? Not suffer.
I chose for Mr. Reynolds the classic punk rock album Chipmunk Punk by the Chipmunks.
Interesting. Right in your wheelhouse, Mr. Reynolds.
Yeah.
In that case, you've got 30 seconds to defend that masterpiece.
Okay, so the complete opposite. This is a fun album. It's a kids' album. I remember being young at the time, so I've been right up my street. This would have been Chipmunks. Loved them on telly. It's got some cracking songs on there. It's all like remakes, but a crazy little thing called Love.
Lovely.
Great little high pitched.
It's like right there.
It's got "Call Me" by Blondie. It's got some great songs on there. It's just in the beautiful harmonies of Theodore, Simon, and Alvin. What more could you want?
Absolutely nothing. Perfectly argued, Mr. Dello. You're right to reply.
You say it's a kids album, but it's relating to punk. And then remember the videos I saw of punk where people being headbutted in the front row and spat on. I mean, I don't think that was in an episode where Alvin and Theodore were like spitting on the front row. It's horrendous. It's annoying. It's as these squeaky pricks are allowed to still perform in public. Essentially, they're just rodents that should be taken care of by either the music industry or pest control. They resemble squirrels. I fucking hate squirrels. And if they come in my garden, I'm going to fucking kill him. Especially if they're knocking out shit like My Sharona, Call on Me by Blondie, classics, and they've reduced it to squeaky little nutsack voices.
Wow.
Hang on, can I argue against that?
I'll give you one final right.
So just the argument that back is it's perfect. We argued earlier about the transition of punk going into the 80s. This is a punk album. It follows over to that. It's the perfect transition of the end of punk going into the electro sounds of the 80s, which we're going to go into. Beautiful.
It's a delightful and eloquent argument, Mr. Reynolds. So on one hand, we've got the musings of one of the greatest bands of all time, the Beach Boys, and an unfortunate first 20 minutes, followed by an absolutely rousing 32 minutes, versus the nutsack shrivelling pop punk musings of Alvin, Simon and Theodore.
Squeaky pricks.
Now, amazingly, I'm going to side with Mr. Reynolds and the Chipmunks, purely because I think I think your vendetta is personal, Dale, and it's all about the squirrels that you mentioned. Had you not have mentioned them, I wouldn't have been led that way. But I think you've literally let yourself down in the final seconds.
I've got rodent issues.
And you've basically got rodent issues. So I'm going to give it to Reynolds. That is a 1-1.
Well done.
So we're going into the final round. It's film. Film to satisfy it and sort it. So again, your argument is chosen by your opponent. So, Mr. Reynolds, what did you choose as a film to argue for Mr. Dello?
So I went for the classic 1980 film, everyone's favourite, Cannibal Holocaust.
I mean, the very best of British luck to you, Mr. Dello. 30 seconds to begin with on Cannibal Holocaust. I mean, even the knowing little chuckle that he's doing there does kind of imply you're screwed. But very best of luck. 30 seconds starts now.
They said that a film about cannibals could never be made into a family movie, but somehow Cannibal Holocaust pulls it off. Nowhere before has there ever been another man eaten by a human being done so much with so much love and affection, and put into this misunderstood world of cannibalism. Such people as the Queen Mother have personally said, 10 out of 10. I took my grandson Chucky there, and we laughed the whole way through. The standout performance from Luca Barbarushka as Mud and Little Perry Pickenham as Tinker. Great performance. Even the way they're misunderstood people. Again, I don't see why cannibalism shouldn't have a sort of an involvement in the world, and why shouldn't we know about cannibals and accept them into our community?
Interesting. Didn't realise the Queen Mother had been to see it. That's
she
new news.
The late
Mr.
Queen
Reynolds.
I think we need not just Judica, I think we need a factual person.
What we might
into this.
have fact check some of these. Mr. Reynolds, you've got 30 seconds to come back on those points whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I mean, it's a horrible film. It's disgusting. It's been banned in so many countries.
What countries?
Oh, Italy for one. Right, let me tell you something. So it premiered in Milan.
Called out on his...
The film was seized by the Italian courts, and director Ruggero Deotta was arrested and charged with obscenity. He was later charged with murdering several actors on camera and faced life in prison. There's animal cruelty in this. Basically a snuff movie. It's a terrible film.
Right.
There's the dubbing. I mean, I watched the trailer. The dubbing's bad enough. I had to turn it off for that because it was just awful.
Yeah.
Interesting, but the Queen Mother really liked it.
Queen Mother,
Dale, final thoughts?
I feel a little bit appalled and saddened, really, that the home of the mafia could not take it into their hearts and see that they've embraced violence in their whole sort of historical system, from the Romans to the mafia, and they can't let a little tiny bit of harmless, cheeky cannibalism go.
Cheeky bummy.
Understand these people who want a voice. I find it very upsetting.
Intriguing. Now, for my own personal... Holocaust mentioned as well. At no point have we touched on that, right? So it's best to avoid that? I think so. Good. Okay. Mr. Dello, your choice for Pip Whitehouse to argue against Cannibal Holocaust.
Yeah, so I kind of regret this a little bit. I kind of I gave Phil a film, and then I gave him a bit of a curveball. I changed it.
Ooh,
but I
has
think
this paid off?
Well, that's what I think. It might have come back to haunt me, but we'll see. So it was meant to be Oh Heavenly Dog with Chevy Chase, but it's
sounded pretty good. I had my argument ready for that. And everything.
I know, yeah.
But he changed it to I think there's even better one.
Wow.
Well,
what is this masterpiece?
It's the classic that is Alligator.
Alligator. Well, Phil, you have 30 seconds on Alligator to begin with. Off you go, sir.
Love this film. I actually, before Del even mentioned it, I had it as an honourable mention of one of the films of 1980. I remember watching this film as a kid. It was classic horror film. Well, it's bad horror, 80s. So the story is a kid has a pet alligator. The dad throws it down the toilet. Over 12 years later, after feeding off, I think it's like pets where they've been injecting them with large hormones, things, he basically grows to about 36 feet, and goes on a rampage in Chicago, goes up into the city. It's awfully bad comedy horror where this alligator is just eating everyone alive. It's great fun horror film.
Now, Del, you must have had a reason for pulling this bad boy out of your hat. Let's find out. As you argue back against those great points, off you go.
In no way or form was this a comedy. It put the fear into God into children, like Jaws did for the previous sort of generation for people going into the sea. Little kids now fear for their lives going into sewers. So I think after this, children were staying away from sewers, where it's regularly in New York Street, they get a hot dog, they go down the sewers, and they play fun. Possibly with smaller alligators. Alligators used to be respected, but because they was beefed up, they were steroided. It was absolutely disgusting, and I can't take it.
I think that was exactly the reason. It's just to stop kids going down the sewers. I think there was they did a presentation, and there was a 20% decrease in people dying down in the sewers because of after this film, it stopped them going down there. So it was actually the advertising was brilliant, and it helped the youngsters of Chicago especially.
What about the alligator going to cocktail parties? Did it help the children there? Yeah, it was great fun. Great fun film. And it didn't get banned in 13 countries, and the director still was. Well, he's probably not. He's probably dead now, but he probably lived a nice life outside the four walls of prison.
I mean, so many things to pick up on. I'm going to just pick you up on one of your stats that you threw out there willy-nilly. 20% decrease in children going down sewers? I want to clarify if that's definitely been
I remember that
fact-checked.
presentation, yeah.
Right, okay, the presentation called...
Sewers. Stop killer sewers. It was in Chicago. It's a big thing in 1981.
I mean, at one point, Del, you were definitely out there. I was leaning and swaying towards your choice. I was like, he's argued it well. Yeah, I like the idea of it. I mean, what the hell? It's only a cannibal. Everyone needs love. I was thinking they all deserve it.
Yeah.
It's just meat.
Well, they even did follow it up later on with the Cannonball Run.
Well,
so they even made it.
Had you have put that in,
I'm putting it in.
We almost had a win, but then Phil has come back with some great points as well, and I think purely because we need to keep kids out the sewers.
Right. Okay.
I am going to go with alligator because the kids don't belong down there, especially not with a hot dog in their hands. What happens if they trip? They're putting a hand out. They're going to drop a hot dog down. It's irresponsible.
It is, but that's what happened in the 80s, man.
It did happen. It was all right in the 80s.
You play down to the sewers till your mum would call you for dinner.
This is a post-COVID world we're in now.
Exactly. You'd go at 10 o'clock and she'd say, don't come home till dark. And you go, right, well, the obvious place, sewers. But until that film came out, we were running our lives were in our own hands. So now... I like to think we've made it through the 80s.
Some of my best childhood days were in sewers before Alligator came out.
The sewers, canal.
When I was 2, my mum would put me down the sewer.
Lovely day out with your uncle.
Yeah,
I'm going to award it to Mr. Reynolds on that one. Purely for the children he was saving. With a great choice.
Well done, you've done well. You saved a lot of people there, Jimmy.
Well, exactly, I think so. I think they need to be saved as well, don't
and
they?
You saved the cast of the Holocaust film as well, Cannibal Holocaust.
Well, exactly.
You would have. What about the dog film? Would you have had the same?
Yeah, that sounded pretty good. Yeah,
Heavenly Dog.
Heavenly Dog.
Yeah, so basically he's a detective, Chevy Chase.
Right.
Gets killed doing it on a case.
Right.
And then when he goes up to the old pearly gates, he's given a chance to go back, but he's sent back as a dog.
To solve the case that he was going to
and
take on
he teams up with Jane Seymour.
Yeah.
Oh,
Seymour.
What a cast.
Gorgeous, yeah.
But
Chevy Chase
Chevy Chase was trying to have sex with Jane Seymour as a dog. He didn't say that, did he?
He didn't mention that. Again, is that need to be fact-checked, though?
It's in the film.
Oh, it is actually about the film. Right, okay.
They should have bath together and everything.
I would have watched it, though. Jane Seymour was nice.
Absolutely. Delightful. Dr. Quinn, Medicine.
Now, that's a film that did get banned in Italy.
That very much did, you're right. Well, that is a hell of an instalment of Uncle Forty's Naughty Box. We'll bring that back every now and again. I like that.
I forgot we're still recording. I'm just eating it.
We are. At no point did we sign this off.
I'm so relaxed, I thought we'd stopped.
You put your trousers back on.
Phil's won another round. He's just immediately celebrated with some Bombay mix and he's taken his trousers off. I think that's a good place to stop, don't you?
It's a great place to stop.
Good arguments, chaps. Good arguments. Well done.
Well played, sir.
So we're now, gentlemen, going to take a look at music of 1980. New decade, to see what new sounds were being unveiled by bands. Richie D, why don't you give us your top 3 albums from 1980, mate?
Yeah, so top 3 albums. I struggled to begin with, but then I started going through a few today, and then a couple really, really stood out. I was going to go with Emotional Rescue with the Rolling Stones for number 3. I actually
So you were going to?
was going to go with it. But I ended
Throwing
up,
one away there.
But I ended up going with Sanista by the Clash.
Okay.
I like the Clash actually for quite a while. Haven't listened to anything from them for absolute years, and then there was about 3 or 4 songs from like their best ofs and different things that was on this album. So I quite like this. This made my number 3. I was a bit gutted. There's a Pat Benatar album I didn't get a chance
I saw that one.
to listen to, unfortunately. So that might have featured, but it's got Magnificent 7, Hitsville UK, The Leader, Something About England, Rebel Waltz, and One More Time. Not the Daft Punk.
One more time.
That'd be great
I
if they
didn't
did
realise that
one.
was the Clash. Yeah, banger.
But that's my number 3. My
Lovely.
number 2 is Making Movies by Dire Straits.
Interesting. You've gone with the straight.
I really like this album. Like, I was so shocked. Like, I was listening to it from today, and there was about there wasn't that. I don't think there was a bad one on there actually. I was really surprised. There's one got Tunnel of Love, Romeo and Juliet, Skate Away, Espresso Love, Hand in Hand, Solid Rock, and Lost Boys. But yeah, it was just just a really good album, and I like them anyway, but they never really stood out.
Yeah.
I know they're big hits, but that's later on with like Money for Nothing.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet was the only one I kind of knew. You saying it from that one, but
I know it's a
I remember
really good
that.
album. I absolutely love that. But yes,
interesting.
but my number 1 could be a bit predictable for people, but it's Bob Marley and the Wailers' Uprising. I'll scat over this a little bit because I think we're going to do.
Over it.
I could scat over it. But no, I think in another thing we're going to go a bit more in depth into the albums. Are we still doing the album thing, aren't we?
Oh, just
The
give us
in-depth
your
album.
reason why
Yeah.
you-
Go over it, yeah.
Okay, right.
Absolutely.
It's Bob Marley and the Wailers' Uprising. You got Coming In From the Cold. It's actually nice to talk about Bob Marley because Bob Marley is probably my favourite artist of all time. Musically wise, I absolutely love him. Great storytelling, political injustice, great advice, poetry, and philosophy. He actually went through a time where I wasn't really speaking to my mum and dad, but the words in his songs and the advice that he gives out in his songs are absolutely amazing. And I love a great line, like I was saying about Yoda and that. I love a bit of that advice, but it's actually generally sort of good, and it doesn't work unless you actually have good music to go with it. Otherwise, it's just lost on dead ears. But I think if you can do the two, you can get a message across, and with good music, then that's great. But
Was that the song "Stop Being Silly Rich"? Go and talk to your mum and dad.
yeah, exactly.
Don't be a dick.
in a reggae
In a reggae stylings.
But yeah, so Coming In From Cold, Real Situations, Zion Train, Pimper's Paradise, Could You Be Loved, Redemption Song, Work, and Bad Card. Like I say, I think we'll go over this a bit more on another thing, so I'll just leave it there.
Nice. Good album, though. Lovely choices. Couple definitely to go and listen to for you.
Oh, and it was also his final studio album before he died.
Well, in that case, how can you begrudge that being number 1? Mr. Reynolds, any similarities for you?
No, not really.
Interesting.
So I've been working on this for a couple of weeks, listening to a lot of albums.
Couple of weeks. This is going to be
but
in-depth.
a lot of it's been wasted because there's been a lot of bands where obviously they're big or artists, and you're like, right, yeah, I'll give that a try. That's got to be good, and you've heard stuff that they're good, and then they just weren't. But so my top 3 anyway. I come across some ones I didn't really realise. So the Psychedelic Furs was number 3. With the same name. Now, I didn't really know much about them, but I started listening to it. It's actually a really good album.
Literally, me and Dale just looked at it blank.
Yeah, but that's actually a really good album. It's kind of electro indie, kind of alternative for that kind of era. But it was a good album.
What do they sound similar to of the time?
I suppose a bit Joy Division-y, but
Yeah, a bit Cure as well. The Cure.
yeah, a little bit, but a bit more. It was this album particularly. I haven't really dived into their catalogue, but this album was bit synthy kind of thing. So
Okay.
a
Yeah,
bit
it was all
different.
starting, wasn't it?
Yeah,
That
but not
sense.
too much. But it was good. It had a like I don't know, a feel to it. It was all yeah. I'd imagine if I was around this time, I'd have been probably liked it. It was like our kind of
Yeah.
alternative 90s era kind of
and
thing. I
off
think
that.
so.
Right,
That was
okay.
good. My number 2 was Kate Bush, Never Forever.
Chic.
Had
Oh,
things
yeah, I
like the
didn't get a chance
Bushka
to
on
see it.
it,
A little bit
the
of
violin, the wedding list on it.
Yeah, I like Kate.
Bush was huge in the 80s, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I've been starting to take a little rabbit hole dive into Kate Bush, and she's actually really good.
Yeah, I like Kate. But I didn't get a chance to listen to that album actually.
Yeah, that was quite good. I
probably
quite
would've-
enjoyed that.
So what appears on that one?
Babushka
Babushka,
is the big
okay.
one. You got the wedding list, violin as well as on there. But yeah, it's a kind of mood, and it's got some really interesting like backing vocals on that as well. But yeah, it's good moody little typical Kate Bush album. You could kind of lose yourself in a little bit. My number 1, I went for U2 Boy in the end. I don't know. It's not their best. It's their first
It's
album,
their debut
obviously.
album, 'cause
Yeah,
I've got this as my number 3.
yeah, and you got I Will Follow, which is a great song
Yes.
on there, and it's you can tell it's following on from the punk. It's
Yeah.
like a punk album, and it's kind of obviously we know U2 go on and they change their sound, but it's quite interesting to hear them like this bit raw.
Yes, 'cause
Quite raw,
They
just- just
basically did like 40 songs they had, didn't they? Where they were gigging
Yeah.
and touring and stuff.
Yeah, it's
They've
quite,
chosen a few off of that.
quite good. They're not they're nowhere near polished, but
No.
you kind of knowing how they
still
go.
know
That
it's-
probably plays a role in how I picked it because I thought, this is quite a good. It's a starting point.
Yeah,
This
but
is
you know
what
it's
it-
their sound. It's
Yeah, it's still you
automatically
can tell. You
them,
can
isn't
tell
it?
it's. You can hear. You got the guitar of the Edge straight
Yeah.
away, and you've got Bono's voice. It's not as strong as what it gets later on.
Yeah.
but yeah, you can definitely tell it's them. But it's got a punk edge to it.
Yes, yeah, very much so.
It's a good album. It's not one of their best, I don't think, but it's it was
It's
my
a
number
strong,
1.
it's a strong start, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know that there's good building blocks there.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's it. That's my 3, 2, 1.
Good choices. Well, you've already mentioned Boy, which is my number 3. My number 2, I go a slightly different way. I go for Voices by Hall & Oates.
Oh wow!
Voices
know
Yeah.
that was
by
that.
what?
Hall & Oates. So it's their 9th album, and some big old bangers, as they say on there.
I might be a bit gutted about this one.
So Kiss on My List was on there.
Okay.
Every Time You Go Away, later covered by Paul Young.
Oh yeah, of course
They,
did.
they write that.
Yeah, I forgot that. Yeah.
They do a cover of You've Lost That Love and Feeling, but all with sort of synths and stuff.
Okay.
And the big one, You Make My Dreams Come True.
Oh really? That was that.
Which I adore that song, and I still play that regularly.
Yeah, oh,
and
mate,
the
I'm
kids
gutted about
like
that,
that
actually.
one as well. But it's bit of guitar, bit of synth.
How does that go?
Lovely tune.
It's the
You
one-
Make My Dreams
yeah, it's
Come
one
True.
from Step Brothers.
Oh, you know.
when they go, "Did we just come best friends?"
Ah, right, okay.
And it
Straight
kicks
away.
in.
Bingo.
Yeah, I know if I heard it. That's what I was saying.
Yeah,
Sing it.
absolute. I mean, you just wanted us to sing it, didn't you?
Yeah, which I'm
Get into some
I'm
form
gonna get you
of
to do that in a
copyright
minute.
trouble. Perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 2.
Oh, good shout.
And my number 1 from the year was The Game by Queen. Their
What was on that?
8th album. So this has Crazy Little Thing Called Love
But Chipmunks did that.
by the Chipmunks. They just covered
Surprised you didn't
that.
know that, Phil.
Another one, Bites the Dust, was on there as well.
Oh wow.
Play the Game was on there. And Don't Try Suicides.
Okay.
So 4 days. They were sort of less massive anthems. They were more just songs that they sang. Do you know what I mean? They were a bit too big almost in their last one.
The
They
other
went
songs on the album any good? Or?
There's a few. I mean, there's about 11 on the album, I think, in total. You'd like to argue not, but I mean, there's never really a bad Queen song
Yeah.
per se, but
Yeah.
nothing huge. There's a few by sort of because they all wrote their own songs, didn't they? So like, there was a couple by Deacon, a couple by Roger Taylor,
Right.
and a couple of the Freddie ones as well. But there's a bit more synth on there, which is a new sound for them. They started to embrace that 80s flavour, but they were just trying stuff, and it's still Queen, still good.
Yeah.
So that was my number 1. But I just missed out was Bob Marley and Uprising, which you've mentioned, Del, already. The only other one I was really looking at was Stevie Wonder, Hotter Than July.
Yeah, that was good. The only
was sort
thing
of
that
out
put me
there.
off was like birth.
The happy birthday
Yeah.
thing, yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Although saying that, it's actually about Martin Luther King. I think people forget that now.
it is. Yeah, they make it. Don't they make it a day about 3 years later? Don't they? I think he's sort of trying to celebrate that.
It is a lovely song, and when you look at it, but it's been ruined
know the
by
historical
going to
bit.
people's bloody birthdays.
Yeah, absolutely. The one that's on there is like the Master Blaster and jamming,
Yeah,
which is
that's
obviously
about
a
Bob
thing
Marley,
about
yeah.
Bob Marley, so it all kind of ties together. What else did you have as possible honourables?
Yeah, so ones
Start.
like the ones I was Bruce Springsteen, The River. Now I've always heard big things about this.
Always comes up as-
I've
yeah.
never been a great Bruce Springsteen fan, but I thought I'll give it a go. I've heard this is a good album, but I just couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was. I don't know if I gave it enough time, but I just couldn't. Like I said, I'm not a good big
Yeah.
Bruce fan, so it was just it didn't get me. Joy Division's Closer.
Yeah, that's the last one,
Just
wasn't
have
it?
to be in the
For
mood. You have to be in the
Yeah,
mood for that, don't you?
can't-
That's
Yeah.
and The Police, Zenyatta Mondata, is it?
Yeah.
Again, I listened to it, think because I like The Police, but wow, it's
The two
weird.
hits are probably the best.
Yeah.
Do 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 da da da. and
Yeah.
Don't
Don't stand so close to me.
yeah.
The rest is just odd. So just didn't do nothing.
I think
So-
you forget sometimes that like you can't just sneeze out like hit singles.
yeah, turns out it was quite tricky.
Yeah, and so when
Yeah.
you look back on a body of work when they got your best of, you think, oh yeah. Then
They're
Yeah,
meant to
that's the thing, isn't it?
They're
Sometimes-
taking two from an album almost, aren't
when
they?
you
And
listen to the
it's-
best ofs before you go to the album, it's hard to
Yeah.
fall out of that, isn't it? Because you forget that
Every song
every
should be
album,
a good one, yeah.
no album has 11, 12 absolute classics. There's always fillers
Yeah.
in every album, even the best albums you like. There's some songs that aren't as good. But when you go to the best ofs and then go to them albums, you expect every song to be like
Of that level and standards,
and
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
hard
absolutely.
to get out of that mindset, isn't it?
yeah.
But that was it. That was kind of it, really, for the honourable mentions.
Anything else on your list?
Yeah,
Del,
I'm
that
into the
just-
Emotional Rescue by the Rolling Stones. It was actually a decent album. There's obviously the title track, Emotional Rescue, Summer Romance, Send It to Me, Let Me Go, Indian Girl, and She's So Gold. It's quite a nice sounding album. Sometimes they can be a bit too much, but I quite like this one. It was all right, but yeah, I just found the Clash pipped it.
Yeah.
But I wanted to try the Pat Benatar Feel with the Kate Bush because I'm a big Kate Bush fan. There's a love one. I tried to listen to the Peter Gabriel one. I couldn't stand it.
Just
Yeah,
couldn't get
Billy
into it.
Joel was another one as well. We had one like Glass Houses, was it?
Okay.
And I like Billy Joel, but it was a weird. Again, it was this punk. There's a lot of punk
Hangover,
feet. Everyone was
yeah.
trying to go down
Right.
this route, and it just didn't work. Like Billy Joel's a pianist, isn't he? He's more.
He's a what?
Massive pianist. yeah.
But yeah, he's trying to. The songs I heard, he was trying to. It
Yeah.
sounded like he was trying to go down some kind of different
Oh, really?
route,
Yeah,
and it just didn't work.
If
so.
it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, isn't it?
I'm
yeah.
the piano man, you're my fucking guy.
Yeah.
Now, spit on my face.
Say spit my face.
Yeah, yeah. There was a couple of other ones that bubbled around, wasn't there? It's like the Pretenders brought out their first album that year as well.
Is it? What's on?
I could not even begin to tell you.
I like the Pretenders as well.
I
Again,
really like her voice, but I
Yeah.
just again you've got to be in a right sort of a mood because she's a bit
There's
not
not
down,
enough.
but
There's not even on their best of. There's not enough songs really for me. I don't know.
the only other one is like AC/DC brought
Okay,
out Back
well-
in Black,
That's meant to be a.
which again is meant to be one of the great albums.
Yeah.
but I just never really found AC/DC.
I like the
liking,
title
sort
track.
of
I
thing.
wouldn't be able to tell you the other.
Yeah, thereafter, not a clue. So, yeah.
So I've got the 10 best-selling singles of 1980. 'Cause I thought the 80s is.
It's a tricky little time,
It's
isn't
not
it?
always albums, is it? It's a weird one for singles. So it'd be good to
You're right.
compare the albums to what was going on in the charts single
Yeah.
wise.
So yeah, previous seasons we've done obviously the singles started to get phased out.
Previously
but this is
on
like
Not
a
For
Future.
properly time.
I think
isn't it?
later in the singles it'll get interesting. So starting from 10 to 1.
Go on.
Now I'm going to ask you to sing a few of these because I can't remember what they go like. Or I know the title, but so I know this one. Working My Way Back to You by the Detroit was the
back to you.
10th best-selling song.
Lovely, good shout.
Coward of the Country, Kenny Rogers. Does anyone know that one?
Coward of the country, you get the fuck off my tractor.
Yeah.
Safe to say we do not know that one.
Together We Are Beautiful, Fern Kinney at number 8. Does anyone know?
No concept.
Together we are beautiful.
Now get the
We
fuck
know
off
this
my
one.
tractor.
Gino, Dexys Midnight Runners at number 7.
You know that goes. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Know that one, yeah. The Tide is High by Blondie. We know that one.
I
Number
think
6.
you'll find it was by
There's a
Atomic Kitten.
Blondie
Yeah.
album, and there was a Madness album I meant to look at as well.
There's almost, I think there's 3. Is there 3 songs by Blondie in the top 10
Is it?
this year?
Yeah, so that's what.
I've only got the one, but yeah.
Is there really? Because I know there's definitely 3 albums that feature in the top 100 of that year
Oh, really?
by Blondie. It's huge. They had a
This
big
one's
old
a classic,
output.
though.
Go on.
DISCO, number
Really?
5.
Disco. Really?
Yeah, that's a one.
Go.
Super Trooper, number 4 by ABBA.
I like Super
Yeah,
Trooper,
lovely.
yeah.
That's it. Feels Like I'm in Love, Kelly Marie. How's that go?
It feels like.
Yeah, that's the one. I knew it, but I couldn't think of it.
That one.
Yeah, that's number 3.
Yeah.
Woman in Love, Barbara Streisand at number 2.
Oh yeah, a bit.
You know
ballad,
that.
That's a
isn't
really
it?
slow song, isn't it?
I am a woman in
Yeah,
love.
I know that.
one.
Yeah. And number 1, anyone can guess what number 1 is? We kind of mentioned it on our albums.
Oh,
Not necessarily what we picked, but we have best-selling song of 1980.
Best-selling song of 1980 was "Happy Birthday."
Babushka.
Don't Stand So Close to Me by the Police.
Was it? Good tune.
Yeah, it's a good song.
Good tune. Oh,
Yeah.
nice. That gives you a bit more context. Yeah, nice. Well done, young Pipster. Okay, gents, we are approaching the end of 1980s episode, but it would be an absolute outrage, some would say a sackable offence, if we didn't dip into the letters and emails. So,
They'd be chanting, you're getting sacked in the morning. If
there'd be like a herd of people coming up the path with like lit torches,
Billy Ocean fans.
massive amounts of Billy Ocean. You don't want to fuck their Billy Ocean fans off, do you? So-
Shouting us to play.
Exactly.
Caribbean
Do
Queen.
Caribbean Queen, you dick. And look at the letters and emails too. So let's not keep them angry. Let's dip in. I've got one from Michael J. Foxcrap from Dr. Sock Drawer. He says, like Cher, what would you do if you could turn back time? It's a very open-ended, nothing to do with the year per se. This is purely, what would you do? Would you do it for good? Will you do something for the world? Would you just go back and try and get a date with that girl that you never did? Have the balls to ask out. Mr. Dello, let's ask you first, my friend. What you doing with the power to turn back time?
Turn back time. I would go to the Top Deck factory.
The Top Deck factory, as in the Shandy,
Shandy Bass.
the Shandy
yeah.
deliciousness from
And I would rob it dry.
Really?
Yeah.
You're trying to get smashed on,
Yeah,
on
and then
Shandy.
then I'll try and build like an underground bunker somewhere just to store.
Just
Top
to store
Decks.
it all.
Yeah, and then
Knowing that the world would run out eventually.
when they run out of complete top decks, and then in sort of another sort of 20 odd years time, I'll come out with the new, well, with the whole storage of, providing they haven't gone off and gone wrong. I don't know if they can. If they're in a can, they should be all right.
suppose, yeah, they stay
might
pressurised,
be,
don't
might
they?
be. But that's what I do. It's not
You'd
the best.
corner
but
the market, the world market in Top
market,
Deck.
yes. Or I'd either do that, or just before the recipe for Rossi's ice cream was coming out, I'd quickly steal that, and then patent it as my own.
Fuck yeah.
It's a
Must
bit
be quicker ways of making money.
yeah,
Well,
probably.
Dale's all about the long game. He's all about the long game, isn't he?
That's why
you
I'm
know
waiting.
this about Dale. That's why he's still here with us. He hasn't worked out that get-rich-quick scheme. What would you do in that case, Mr. Reynolds?
I don't know. So if you could turn back time, is it just a one-off time?
I think so. You've got basically just a one chance, one shot. So
Yeah.
would you do something for humanity, or would you corner the market for Shandy
So
Bass?
humans would just ruin it one way or another. So there's no point doing that. I'm trying to think of a
There'd always be
moment.
another idiot that would come along.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a moment that, like,
Was there something where you thought, oh, I should have done that?
no, not necessarily.
That real
I
regret
should have
or-
done that, but one that it gets me going. I could make some money out of this on the way. I'd probably go back to the 2006 FA Cup final, West Ham Liverpool.
Oh,
Just stop
move the
Gerrard.
defender or
Stop
something.
Gerrard. Yeah, I think. Is it Scalacci or he was the
Scalacci?
No, it was,
Scalacci?
He's in the
who's the Argentinian coach at the moment? It's him, isn't it? He was
Wayne Hernandez.
He was West Ham's right. He was West Ham's right back, and he gave the ball stupidly to Gerrard. So I'd get him to do that, and then
Would you sub him off just before?
yeah,
that
maybe
moment?
just do that. And then obviously I put a bet on it as well, 3-2. It put all the scorers down, so I'd make shitloads of money on it as well. And yeah, that's probably the feeling I've got. Especially being a West Ham fan, them opportunities come around very far and few between.
As we know from
from the
1980.
from the
Exactly.
40s box as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So then that was a day where I felt sick. So
For quite a while after, I imagine.
yeah, so probably something like that, and make a shitload of money off it as well by putting all the.
Always
How much would you bet on it? Because there must be crazy odds
yeah,
for that.
a 3-2 win against Liverpool?
Well, yeah, but and putting all the scorers
the right
down,
scorers and the right order. And,
yeah.
yeah.
You wouldn't have to put much down. You only have to put probably like a few hundred, and you'd make.
Oh, untold riches.
So,
But more than that, millions of happy hammers.
yeah,
And what better world do you want to live in than that?
You'd want to live in that
yeah.
world,
Top of my head, that's all I can think. I'm sure there's better things. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
like,
I'm sure there is as well. But what? I can't think
the
right
world
now.
hunger.
I mean, it's not like I'm going to take off the Shandy factory. It's like-
Very
you,
true.
you stick to your own, mate. You back off.
Yeah, when you're thirsty celebrating that West Ham win, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
You've got no shandy, have you? Dale's got it
Yeah, or a Ross's ice cream.
yeah.
all. Who's sitting pretty then?
Exactly,
GD, the king of ice cream.
Exactly, there you go.
That's what they call him.
It's an empire.
It is.
That'll get you a house on Benfleet Road.
They've got to be built somewhere, haven't they?
Yeah.
Built on smaller things than that.
What'd you go for, Jimmy?
I would go a minute before you subbing that bloke off. I'd instruct Gerrard to hit a sweeter shot before. I don't know. I think it's one of those sort of missed opportunity moments, isn't it? So maybe. I tell you what I'd like to do. I'd like to go back and be at Anfield in 1989 and watch Mickey Thomas scoring to get us that win.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to be able to turn back time and just go to that moment and see that eruption of craziness.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's what I'd do.
Yeah, that'd be good, yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'd do. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
what
not
I'd
a
do.
bad shot. Okay, football
I'd like
wise.
to do that, something like that. Or maybe stop Naeem scoring from the halfway line. Just stand behind the goal and tell Seaman to take a couple of steps back or something so he doesn't get lobbed like an idiot.
Don't go out to the 6-yard box.
Yeah, exactly. Don't stay on your line. What are you talking about? Stay on your line.
Or just pull Naeem's shorts down.
There you go.
Mind you,
That's what I'd do.
you say standing line. He did that against Ronaldinho, and he still lobbed him.
He still lobbed him, yeah, good point. Turns out he was quite short after all. Who knows? Really
He
small
couldn't touch the
goalkeeper.
crossbar.
Little midget of a fella.
How does that feel? I thought you had like a really wet nipple then. It's just where the shadow is. Is it? Is it wet?
Yeah, just for you.
Turns out Phil's lactating, everybody.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Maybe I'll go back in time and get Phil some nipple pads just to stop his jumper being ruined. Well, there you go. That is question one, straight out of the traps. Let's move on to question two. And this is from, oh my goodness, Anaconda. And she says, what's your wrestling nickname and how does your ring entrance theme song go? Big in the
wrestling
80s, wasn't
nickname.
it? WWF back then.
Yeah, it was.
Huge. Or even like, what was it called? World Wrestling on the ITV, you know, like the Saturday
World Wrestling.
Legends of Wrestling or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's called? On
I
ITV,
know,
I forget.
World of
someone
Sport
will tell
or
us.
no?
World of Sport, that's the chap.
That's it.
But yeah, so it's huge back then. Phil, you look like the wrestler amongst the three of us.
No, it's like something that goes in it. So it'd be something like Phil the Thunder Reynolds or something like that. So I used to actually, when I used to go.
I used to be on the
I used to
circuit.
be a wrestler. I used to be on the circuit.
When we used to go down to Simpson's house at lunchtime, we'd wrestle a lot. And I used to do a thing called the Thunder move, actually. And I used to get his head in between your legs.
Right.
And then I would
What, from
jump
the front
over
or from the back?
from the front, and then I'd jump over him with his head, and then I'd slam it on the floor. So kind of, and I'd like say like,
Did he remain conscious through like the afternoon?
oh, he was a nasty bastard as well. He did some things. I can't, so
What
don't
was
feel
his-
sorry
What
for
was
him.
his nickname? You remember?
Oh, I don't know. Slimeball Simpson, I think.
How
He doesn't come out.
Slime Ball Simpson.
Yeah, that was my nickname. It was like Nemesis. So yeah, Phil the Thunder.
Phil,
What,
what's that? And then it's the
yeah, you
theme
need
tune,
to-
like the walk-in music.
It probably would be. What was there a song called like Thunder or something?
There was
like that?
Thunder by Prince, wasn't there? Thunder.
Is that quite heavy?
Through the night.
Oh, what's
Yeah,
it?
see, I'm
What's
thinking
that?
of-
Thunder, lightning.
The way you took me is frightening.
Yeah, it could be that one, yeah.
That could work. Nice.
Yeah.
Outfit in mind, or are you just all about the double denim?
No, it would be like lycra.
A lot of
I could
lycra.
see
Yeah,
you
like
like Mexican, like Rey Mysterio. Like,
with the full mask
Yeah,
and
with the
stuff.
mask.
Yeah, wearing a mask,
interesting.
yeah, could
I
do.
reckon.
Yeah.
No one. Yeah, I don't want to be
Nacho Libre
famous.
style.
Yeah,
No one
Ken-
knows who I am. Yeah.
Yeah,
Kendo Nagasaki. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. So, in your opponent for the title is Mr. Dello.
Yeah, so I didn't know whether to take my dad's name, but he was Dirty Alan. Would it work with Dirty Richie?
DRD.
Yeah,
Should be Dirty Dello.
Dirty Dello.
Like
yeah,
Michael Jackson singing like, and then just change it.
Hello.
Yeah.
What
so
a
can we-
party.
So what are they called? What are the bad guys called? They're called
Heels.
Heels, yeah. So it could be a heel.
Yeah.
Or they go the lines of, do you remember Ravishing Rick Rude?
God, yeah.
So I could be Ravishing Rich Nude. So
Oh,
I wrestle
nude-coloured.
naked.
Oh, just completely naked.
Or yeah, I could have nude.
That'd be
yeah,
really-
more appropriate. wouldn't it?
That'd be
Yeah.
really awkward, wouldn't it? Just
Yeah, more daytime friendly for the kids.
And,
Mummy, what's that? Don't ask.
I'd like a traffic cone on my head.
What standards? Standard
Yeah,
practice.
so like naked sort of lycra with a
Yeah.
traffic cone on my head.
Delish. And you're...
So is the actual lycra see-through? So you can see it all.
oh, God, yeah.
Yes, well, yeah, why not? Why not live a little? I suppose.
And have you shaved? Have you looked
love
have you
that.
looked after yourself down there? Or is it just full on like?
80s bush.
Yeah,
Well, it depends. If we go,
especially in the lycra all
His
squashed up.
penis will look
Yeah, it
exactly
could
like
be.
Leo Sayer.
yeah, it could be
In a
could
bad
let it all
light.
come out. Little, yeah, I suppose. Well, I'm quite well trimmed down there. So if we're going nowadays, Richie, then it's the finest on point. But if we're going, yeah,
Look like all
90s,
the members of... Dippy,
Yeah, we could be.
Dippy Boys.
yeah, it could
Right,
be.
so Fred.
Could be looking like was he DLT? Is it BLT? Oh, what is it?
BLT. Love a BLT. Dave Lee Travis, the hairy cornflake.
Yeah, the hairy cornflake. Oh, that's
Hairy
a great name,
cornflake.
wrestling name. The hairy
That's
cornflake.
not a bad one, is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then
Dirty Dello, Dirty Richie Dello. Or Dirty...
coming into Dirty Diana. Yeah, Dirty
Coming in with Dirty Diana.
Dirty
straight
Diana, I
in.
guess. Yeah.
Interesting.
Or would you just make up your own theme? Like Hulk Hogan's got his own theme
The
tune.
real American. Yeah, maybe get something sort of specifically bespoke
The
to
real dirty boy.
who's a naughty boy. Richie.
Richie. What, Jimmy?
Nice. I think I would go something ridiculous.
Would you be a
I mean,
heel
they're
or
all
would you be a
ridiculous,
good?
mate.
Would you be a good guy?
Do you know what? I think I'd like to start life as a good guy, just to stroke the ego.
Would you be
I'd
like
a
the
lot of people
cheesy good
chanting.
guy, like clapping to the fans, high fiving, cuddling the grannies?
Yeah, do you know what? A real, disgustingly,
Nice.
like the Cliff Richard of wrestling.
Yes,
That's what I'd
all
come in
the
as,
grannies
that
love
kind
you.
of-
That's, don't know.
Yeah,
paints,
kind of
paints a weird picture.
Would
Do you
you
know what I mean? So like the whiter than white kind
Jimmy,
of look.
I can imagine you know the proper good guys that come in. They have the jackets on with
Yeah.
the pants,
Yeah.
and then the knee high boots.
Yeah, all
I
that.
could see, yeah, and
Yeah.
then getting the cuddles from.
I'd actually have roller skates on.
Yeah, we're going
I'd
really.
come down the slope, like Wired for Sound. I'd come into Wired for Sound.
Oh, that'd be a
by
great one.
Cliff. I'd have the full look on with the coat,
And
but
your
roller
name
skates
is?
on. I'd be Hot Wheels Hegs.
Wheels egg. Oh,
Straight in, rolling up, double
Wheel-
high fives as I come down the aisle on my skates. Lots
Like
of that.
it.
Eat your vitamins,
good.
say your prayers, and then
Little
eventually
denim shorts.
little denim
Yeah.
shorts with the pockets hanging lower than the
Yeah.
shorts. Yeah, and
can
then
then-
maybe 6 months into the career,
You
turn
change,
on a
really?
dime and come out black.
Really?
Yeah, full evil. I'd just come out black. I'd call myself Richard Pryor.
Oh, okay.
And I'd just go. I'd come out. Yeah, I'd go from the holier than thou. I'd change on a dime like
Oh, really?
Hollywood Hogan. I'd get nasty with it.
Those
Yeah.
roller skates turned into ice skates.
They'd be like grease where the little knives would come out the wheels.
Yeah.
I could just chop off people's.
And they were nice red ones, and they'd
Achilles.
just turn to like rogues
Yeah,
afterwards.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Everyone's hissing at you.
Oh, I'd love it. Yeah, what? Shut up. All
Like
that.
Thunder Lips in Rocky 3.
Exactly like the lips
Yeah.
in Rocky 3. We're just playing, guys.
Yeah,
no.
there you go.
Rah. That's my look.
like
I'm
it.
sticking to it. Lovely question. We like that one. All right, let's move on to Cabbage Snatch Kids, who says, if you were stuck in a certain year forever, what year would it be? So kind of a Groundhog Day special, but this is a year, not a specific day. So what year are you replaying over and over?
Cool, that's a tough one, isn't it? A year. So what year was a good year?
What was a good year? What was a great year? I like to think
98. It's one of the eights for me, either 88 or 98.
98. And what was so special about the eights?
I
You like Tottenham with anything
88.
you won.
No,
You
it
had a good
was
cup
that
run.
you hadn't gone senior school yet, but you was kind of like bossing it a bit. at
Big fish, little
school.
pond kind of thing.
Yeah, you had to call. Started to get
primary
into
school.
football and stuff, so it was that sort of thing. But again, life was just easy. You didn't have homework.
10. Everything's done for you.
It was a day you never got when we went to school. You never got a homework at primary school. Did you?
right. Yeah.
Spellings, that was about it, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that could be quite a good one.
Spellings and reading, that was about it, wasn't
10.
it?
10
Yes.
was amazing. Yeah, just generally.
It's not bad.
do what
Yeah,
you
it was
want.
a good time. And like you say, you was like the king of your school then, weren't you? You was the
Yeah.
best one. Yeah. And then when you went to the secondary school, you was like, blimey, this is big, isn't it?
Music was all right. Films were all right. It was
not a bad shout,
It's not a
though.
bad shout. I think
88 for
I'll
you.
go 88. Yeah.
It's a
Lovely.
good one.
It's a good shout.
I don't know. I think it's 90s for me.
I'm thinking 94.
Yeah, I'm thinking around 95,
4 or 5.
96.
This was 17, 18, 19.
Yeah, that was still a good period, but we're just getting into pubs and that as well.
Yeah.
And it was that
More
kind of.
freedom.
Getting into crack.
Yeah, it was just. It was just that.
Getting solidly into class A.
It was
independently.
it was at that time when you was kind of getting there, but you still wasn't old enough to. But it was kind of exciting.
Yeah.
There was some excitement still involved in it.
Yeah.
Everything was still a
At
bit
10,
like.
you still need a lift from your mum and dad and stuff.
Yeah,
whereas
yeah,
at
like I say, it was
18,
independence,
19,
but you
20,
still you wasn't ready for it yet, but you had
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, it was there if you wanted it, but none of us did.
Nah, yeah,
We just wanted to go out and have a good time. Want to get loaded. That's what we wanted to do.
Wanna-
We want to get loaded.
yeah. I'd say
Wanna
around
have
that
a good time.
95, something like that.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
And the
like
music
that.
and all that was brilliant around that time, wasn't it?
I'll see you down the pub.
Yeah, yeah. It was
Well,
pretty much that. I
got
think
a
every
few
night
years,
was down there. Wasn't we?
we'll see you there when you're
Yeah,
when you're ready.
well, you'd lived that day, wouldn't you? I suppose, like, would that say that day, that year?
That year,
yeah. So
yeah.
yeah, not a bad year.
Like that. That. It's nice to think back. Delish. All right, let's have a little look and see far down. We've got, hello, Gianfranco Granola has asked us, what 80s song lyrics, nice, keeping it relevant, Gianfranco, what 80s song lyrics wouldn't be appropriate to shout out at 2 a.m. to a stranger? What 80s song lyrics wouldn't be appropriate to shout out at a stranger at 2 a.m.? Del,
I know, yes.
You looked like you had a little spark of,
Yes,
I know.
because I saw him the other night, and I still think this is like, it's
go
not
with-
a great.
Go
it's
with
like
Willie Motion again.
Willie Motion, Billy Ocean.
very Billy Ocean
get out
heavy,
my
this.
dreams, get out my dreams, get into
Get
my
into my
car.
car.
It's like the opening line of the song is, "Hey you, get into my car."
Absolutely
yeah, you.
not.
Get into my car.
Really insistent.
So, yeah, that's. Can you say that? Could you say that?
To a stranger at 2
2
a.m.?
a.m.?
I don't think so.
No, there you go.
Even as
Where
a-
are you? And
even as the very
what's the
pushiest-
situation at 2 a.m. now?
He's an Uber driver.
Yeah,
Really pushy one. Hey, you! Get into my car. Or you're getting a 0-star review. You knob.
Because 80s lyrics specifically.
80s lyrics.
could be a.
Christ.
Yeah, if you're a policeman, it's.
I'm going to run with Walk Like an Egyptian because it's not always appropriate to walk like an Egyptian, certainly not at 2 a.m.
Yeah,
Especially if you're running from the police.
Oh yeah. What Sting?
Yeah, and the other ones that no one knows the names of.
Stinger chasing
Stuart
the Bengals.
Copeland, wasn't it? And someone else? I forget.
Beef.
Beef was on drums.
Mine would probably be like a virgin.
any lyric in particular?
Well, just like that, and touched for the very first time. It'd be weird saying out to 2 a.m. to a stranger, wouldn't it?
It really would. It really would.
Group of girls at a bus stop. It slows down.
Touched for the very first time. Go away, Mum told me about you. Phil coming in after getting maced again for another evening out. Did it happen again, love? Yeah. You got to stop shouting that at
Try a
bus
different
stops.
song.
That's Casey's then.
Casey and the Sunshine Band. Let's move away from that because it could get us in trouble. Let's go with the final question for this evening, and it's from Polly Python. And she says, multiple choice here sort of thing, so you got to listen in. Would you rather choke on Pete's Townsend, spoon Keith Moon, blow Pete's Entwistle, or cause adultery with Roger Daltrey? Choice of 4. Choke on Pete Townsend, spoon Keith Moon, blow Pete's Entwistle, or cause adultery with Roger
I
Daltrey.
like the idea of
I'd like spooning Keith Moon.
but
Yeah.
if he's had a shitload of drugs,
Who knows what could happen?
yeah, that might get a
Well,
bit
spooning, as
and
we
he's
know.
safe. He's still got the drumsticks in his hands.
It leads to
You
forking.
could lose an eye. Yeah, you
It
could
leads to forking, that's what we know.
Oh.
Especially with Keith Moon,
Yeah, it could do.
under the influence.
Although if he's had too many, then he'd be out of it.
It
It'd be
might
quite,
just pass out,
quite
just
nice.
a nice
yeah.
little cuddle, little limp
So if
arm
it's
over them.
intoxicated, then
What we're
maybe.
hoping is that Keith is off his neck
yeah.
and we have a nice cuddle.
I don't really want to
The
go
thought
near.
of choking on Pete Townsend.
Yeah, I don't really want to go
worries me.
near Townsend or blood
And blowing Pete's end whistle. So it's a toss up
and the
between.
adultery with Roger Daltrey, is that you're doing it with him, or you and him are causing adultery together, or are you
that's
and
a good
him?
point.
That's a question only you can answer.
He sure
Well,
plays
you
with
and
me.
Roger.
Sure plays
I
with me.
mean, if it's you and him just doing adultery with women
Yeah.
together, then that's a different thing to
It's a
doing
very
adultery
different kettle of fish.
with him.
Absolutely.
Keith spooning with
Safe-
Keith Moon
safety first.
sounds better.
The weirdness
I can't
is that
explain.
the safety option is spooning with renowned drug addict and lunatic
Yeah,
Keith Moon.
Yeah, I don't
Sounds
know.
better.
It does, doesn't
It's
it?
got a nice little ring to it. Innit?
Yeah.
Well,
So are we all
bit of judge
Yeah, I
of
think
that.
we're all spoon with Keith Moon.
Yeah.
going to spoon with Keith Moon?
Yeah, I think so.
On button Moon.
It sounds
perhaps?
quite aggressive,
Yeah.
adultery with Roger Daltrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's spoon.
Yeah.
Screw it.
I can imagine him like really banging you over the head with a tambourine. If, like,
Just
if
losing,
you get it
losing
wrong,
his
yeah.
percussion mind.
Yeah.
Just this might create a
like-
new sound. no, Keith, I've just got
Just like-
quite severe concussion now.
Pete starts picking up his guitar and then windmill in everywhere.
It gets carnage after
Yeah.
that, doesn't it? Let's be honest. Let's move away from it. Let's just have a lovely snuggle with Keith and be done with it.
Yeah, Steve.
Well, that's nice. It's a lovely little mental image to end with there. But that's your first dip of the 80s. Letters and emails. I don't know where I went with that one, but I liked it.
Yeah, it was good.
I went avant-garde.
Very elongated.
Thanks. I've been working on it. Okay, chaps, that is the first one of the decade chalked off. 1980, done and dusted. Well done. Back into the groove.
Yeah, it was good.
Well done.
Enjoyed it.
Hats
Well done,
off.
you.
Hats off to you. Hats off to you. Well done, sir. Well done,
well
sir.
done, boys. Well done.
It was nice. It could be a good decade,
Swap
I reckon.
shirts at the end. Swap shirts.
Oh, very much so. And then all into a communal bath.
Oh, definitely.
yeah. Okay.
Always. You wash
100%.
my back, I'll wash yours. All right, so I will see you there. If you can get the water running, I'll join you in a moment. But let's just say that we'll be coming at you again like an angry viper in a week or so with 1981. But if you can't wait that long for a fix of not faulty nonsense, you can find all our previous episodes on, where are they, lads? Spotify,
Apple
Amazon,
Music.
Yeah,
Apple,
everywhere, anywhere.
all that.
Good pods.
Good pods. A whole host of other
Sharp's
podcasty places.
Pat Sharp's
And
yeah,
Pat
he's got
Sharp's
loads of them.
Locker.
And he's fucking locker.
So yeah,
Been banned from Butlins.
go and check them out because they're always worth a re-listen. Or if you're bored, you can get in touch with us on our social channels or even the old email address, which is Phil.
info@not40justblank.com.
Excellent. One day I'm going to catch him out. So you can chat to us about this, that, and the other, or you could even send us a question for a future episode. But until we meet again, bye-bye, Blankers.
Bye.
Good night, people.
Good night, people. It's been lovely.